All right, man, peace. So now this is going to be part two in the series on the resort for American liberal black females that was created in Honduras for them to go to, allegedly because of the racial dynamics in America since Trump was selected or elected. We've already gone through many of the dynamics that predicated them wanting to go to this resort in Honduras. The main reason being that the liberal black woman, and really all females in America at this point, are not instructed on the concept of accountability and culpability. The liberal black female has been taught that nothing is her fault. Everything is someone else's fault. This the white man's fault. This the black man's fault. This the white woman's fault. This everybody else's fault. And she's not the only demographic who has that mentality. Many so-called black males also have that mentality where they want to point the finger and blame game everyone else. This is why one of the main themes, one of the main motifs of my channel is what so-called black men. Make sure that you scrutinize yourself every day. Make sure before you get involved with these women that you have your shit in order. Don't be scared to be by yourself for a while. Definitely do not try to establish any serious relationships until you have your ducks in a row. Are there good women out there? Absolutely there are. But you have to use great scrutiny. When you're the better person you become, the better the women will be who come your way. Why is that? Because the chicken heads that you used to accept before, you're going to cast them aside. You're going to say, I'm not even dealing with that shit anymore. I'm not 16 and 17 and 19 years old anymore where I'm just looking for a fat ass and titties. Have a nice day. Okay? So by no means is this channel based on it's the woman's fault, it's the woman's fault. Like I've stated in the past, my channel is far above the gender war bullshit. The beauty of the woman is like the beauty of the moon. The moon is essential. If you don't respect the necessity of the moon, then everything is going to be thrown off balance. That's just how it's going to go. But yes, on this channel, the tomfoolery and the fuckery of the woman will be addressed. And the people who don't like it, oh well, have a nice day. That's all I could tell you. Because it's not going to change. So let's see what else they're talking about here.
I don't think that we can do that in the United States. I think that we're suffering and suffocating and just dying every single day trying to survive.
Let me say this. Some of what she says is valid, but a lot of it is based off of her low-level understanding of how to resolve the issue. And most of that is itself based off of the fact that she does not want to trust the black man. And brothers, they're not going to touch on this aspect in this feature because they want to glorify the black woman. Once again, this is why I call it aiding and abetting. It is the job of the liberal Caucasian media to kiss the black woman's ass and make her feel that she's better off by herself. How can we resolve the issue when you're always playing the gender war blame game? When I say you, I'm not talking to the woman. I'm not talking to the man. I'm talking in general. All right. As a man, you should not be going back and forth with the woman. When you have knowledge and wisdom, there's no need for you to go back and forth with her. She either understands and accepts it, or she can have a nice day. That's if you have your shit together. Now, if you don't have your shit together, then you don't really have the right to stipulate anything. Period. That's how that goes. Life is about power. But these women all here at this resort are confused, as most women are, particularly when they reject the man as their head. And that's why you'll see that it's very conspicuous that there are no men here. All these women are so-called pro-black. Why are they at a resort without their men? Because the pressure of being a liberal woman is overwhelming them. They can't deal with it. All right? That's why, once again, like the scriptures tell you, remember Lot's wife. This society is modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. It's modern-day Babylon. It's modern-day Egypt. All the things that were done there are being done here. So in the same way that Lot was able to say, look, I'm going to put the Most High and his instructions first. I can't worry about her. If she loves Sodom and what was going on there that much, then I guess she got to turn into a pillar of salt. That's the same mentality you have to have about many of these sisters, unfortunately. And I put sisters in quotes. Okay? Point of being a king is to have the ability to make hard decisions. If you can't make hard decisions, then you can't be a king. You cannot call yourself a king.
there.
Yeah, not every woman can afford to come out to Costa Rica. What can we do for the racism they experience, for women who can't afford?
It's easy for the women who can't afford to go to Costa Rica. Here's what we do. Those women, they're going to have to learn how to respect a good man when he's in their presence. And that man is going to be the receptacle for all of their angst and all their anguish. That is his job. Because you know what he's getting in return? He's getting a helpmeet, he's getting a lover, he's getting a mother to his children, and he's getting a wife. That's how that works. That's how that works. Some people might not like it when I say, why would I go back and forth with you if I'm not getting any pussy from you? But that's reality. That's the real world. You look in other cultures, random men don't go back and forth with random women like they do in Western society, particularly the so-called black community. The internet has become a place where everybody just wants to argue all day. All right? If I know that 1 + 1 is 2, why would I argue with you about that? Right? You a fool for trying to argue that, and I'm a fool for trying to argue with you about something I already know.
Be part of your retreat.
I think that it's important for people in the United States, Black and POC people, to start forming their own spaces there.
Easier said than done. White Americans find themselves in white-only meetings and places all the time, without even trying or noticing.
Now, did you hear what the narrator stated? She said it's easier said than done. White people find themselves in white-only meetings all the time. Well, then you know what? That's the reason why you should be starting your own business. You know, a lot of people saw Trump's new tax plan, and they said, well, you know, the tax cuts are going to wear out in 10 years, but for the corporations, they're going to stay. You know what that means? That you should probably be spending your next 10 years trying to build up a corporation or a business idea. That's what that means. When the system changes, you have to change with it. You can't get mad and say, oh, no, I want it to stay the old way. You have to adapt. You have to be malleable. You have to be changeable. Right? Black man, it's time for you to elevate to a higher level of commercial understanding. Sometimes you have to be by yourself for a while. Right? When you watch the movie The Dark Knight, what did Bruce Wayne do? Bruce Wayne, he was so traumatized by his parents' death, he had a vision for what he wanted to become. He went off all around the world. He learned martial arts in all these different regions, and he was by himself. And it was when he came back to Gotham, that's when he started popping all the broads. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't running around trying to learn karate and say, oh, well, let me pop this broad and that broad. You have to focus, man. So that's the real issue. These women here, this is a smoke screen, brothers. I can't stress that enough. All this shit is a smoke screen. So don't get caught up in anything that these liberal black women tell you about race. They don't know nothing about race. You shouldn't even have to worry about that. Your only concern should be, is my husband satisfied and are my children taken care of? That's your job. You go to work, you have to deal with stress as a black woman. I'm not trying to poo-poo that. But then you should be able to come home and express that to your man. And y'all talk about it. Y'all work it out. Y'all make love. Y'all do whatever y'all got to do. And that's that. Y'all work together. Maybe work together with him on forming a family business. How about that? So you don't have to worry about all that stress.
When black people want a break from feeling like a minority, they often have to make an effort. Alexis made the effort, and it cost her $2,222.
Now listen to what she said. She said when black people don't want to feel like a minority, they have to make this effort and they have to spend $2,000. No, you don't. Because how you feel is within you. It don't have nothing to do with how much money you spend. That's why I don't use terms like minority talking about so-called black people. That's why I don't use terms like black. All these terms are meant to marginalize you, so-called black man. How could you be a minority when the so-called black man was the first person here? When I say here, I'm talking about on earth. How could you be the minority? By the Caucasian man's own statistics, so-called white people or the so-called Nordic type, they represent the smallest percentage of people on the earth. That's according to their stats. They said that. So how could you be the minority? It's very clear that that term or that title is a psychological ploy to make you feel less than, or to make you feel like you've been disempowered. The solution is through culture, and after that, then you get the economic understanding. But none of that is going to manifest itself in this society. The judgment is already written. Basically, what's going to happen is that this economy, this society is going to cannibalize itself because of greed. That's why when you read the scriptures, the Most High stipulated to his people, the children of Israel, to not lend on usury, which is a credit-based form of commerce. You're not supposed to do that. Where you're lending on interest. That promotes greed, and that will eventually lead to the destruction of your economy. That's what we have here in America with the Federal Reserve. This is why I make videos on the economy, because it reflects back on the scriptures and what was stipulated by the Most High. Okay, so the black woman's angst is really based in the fact that she refuses to trust her own man. And there's a reason for that. I always touch on this. It's because of you brothers. You brothers have to show the so-called black woman that you're not going to deal with her on her terms. You're going to stipulate the terms of engagement, and she can either hear or forbear. If you decide to reject these terms, then you can go out on your own and you can suffer the consequences. That's how that's going to go. Period. When you understand that the woman is a child, then you have to conduct yourself with them oftentimes like you're dealing with a child. Unfortunately, but that's what it is. You have to use a lot of patience. A lot of times you have to be reticent in the things that you say because you understand that the female does not deal with the truth very well. I was having a conversation with a brother. He's talking about his chick that he's dealing with now. And he notices that she drinks a little bit too much. And, it's just things that you notice. And you might not comment on because it might not be the time for you to speak on certain things. But you get to a certain point when you have discretion and when you have prudence, you say, okay, this is the right time for me to address this issue so I can find out what exactly this broad's deal is. All right. So that's how you got to move, man. You got to move like a serpent, like Christ said. He said, you have to be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. That's why I always come at these so-called pro-blacks, because they overdo it. It's like some certain niggas, they try too hard, man. You're trying too hard. If you really was that militant, I would see your ass on the news with a damn M16 running up in the police station. You ain't doing that shit. All right. You're on the internet talking shit all damn day. So just calm down. But anyway.
But for her and several other women, that's a reasonable price to pay for a retreat that bans white people.
Would having white people on this trip ruin it?
I got my money back. Yeah, I don't think we will be as open and as honest as we are with the group that we're in now.
Yeah. Do you all feel like you've been stereotyped?
One thing I always got is you're so well spoken, and I don't think people understand how insulting that is. What else would you expect from me?
Look, let me say this quickly. And oftentimes the Caucasian will say things like that. You're articulate, you're this and you're that. I don't worry about what the Caucasian says or thinks on any topic. You have to understand something about the English language. Like every other language, it is in a constant state of flow and flux and alteration. The English that was spoken in King Alfred's court back in the 9th century was not the English that was spoken in Edward III's court in the 14th century, and that is not the English that was spoken in King Henry VIII's court in the 16th century, and that's not the English that was spoken in the 1800s, and what we speak today is not the English of that time. So if we want to be strict with it, there's really no such thing as quote-unquote proper English. Okay? In every language, you have a series of dialects. Even in the so-called black community in America, you have dialects, or what they call slang. Okay? Languages develop, they flow, they change. That's what they do. So I would not get caught up in what the Caucasian person says, because it's not really up to them to establish what proper English is. And by the way, we're the ones who taught them English. Because the original Germanic tribes and English is an offshoot of what they call the Proto-Germanic languages. Those are black people, all right? Old Norse and Frisian, German, what they call High German, right? English. Those languages were developed by so-called black people. Believe it or not, but that's another video for another day. But many of these women, quite frankly, they look pitiful. And a lot of them are too old to be sitting here with that nonsense. This is what happens, brothers, to a lot of these females who think that they're going to be hot shit their whole life. They're 21, 22 years old. They had a nice young man that they were dealing with. They fucked that up, and now they have not been able to find a good man since. Now they by themselves and trying to deal with corporate America and all these other dynamics that the woman was not meant to have to deal with.
It's been no different for you since
It was
the election of President Trump?
We're black, we knew that racism has been around, but it's a bit more in our face now. It's made me have to pivot my interactions with people and, like, you know, people who actually support Trump.
Yeah.
Like, I can't trust you on friendship level, family level, any level if you actually are supporting someone that, you know, is completely racist.
Is some of that
So now you see, that's what this whole thing is really about. Like I told you, brothers, in part one. This is not about so-called white people as much as it is Donald Trump. Donald Trump's selection/election really was a bucket of ice water in the face of the liberal black woman. What they thought was that through Obama that they were going to be able to build a bridge to the liberal Caucasian community and be able to hold hands with the liberal white man and the liberal white woman. And despite what many of these so-called conscious black women protest about, many of these liberal black women will love to get a white man. They just can't get one. Right? Look, this is a pro-truth channel. I'm not into the back and forth. You're not going to tell me that a dog is a raccoon. I don't have time for bullshit. Don't come on my channel if you're a liberal black woman trying to go back and forth on shit that I already know. Okay? With all these narratives about how when black men get famous, they get a woman of another race. All that is bullshit. When you look at the percentage of famous black men who get women of the other race and the percentage of famous black women who deal with men of the other race, the percentage of famous black women with men of the other race are far higher. Okay? It's just that many of these famous black women, when they're getting screwed by the white man, it's not on television because the white man doesn't want to get on the red carpet with them. He doesn't want to walk down the street with them. He just wants, some of that chocolate. That's it. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's the fact of the matter. The man and the woman are not equal. So the Caucasian woman, the Asian woman, the whatever other so-called quote-unquote race of woman is always going to be ready and willing to appear in public on the arm of a famous black man. It takes more for a non-black man to want to claim a black woman in public, even if she's famous. Even if she's famous. And you'll notice that whenever you see a so-called affluent black woman with a non-black man, the same so-called pro-black females who claim to be all about quote-unquote black love, they're the ones jumping on the mountaintop saying, look, Halle Berry has a white man, right? Gabriel Aubrey, whatever his name was, the same guy who called her a nigga whore, a nigga bitch, was beating the hell out of you. You know what the moral of the Halle Berry story is? Is that most likely she's a piece of shit. I know a lot of people ain't gonna like that. I don't care. All right. Black man can't be with her. White man can't be with her. Maybe the problem is you. Maybe you the fucking problem. All right. Once again, this is a pro-truth channel. I'm not here to pull any punches. People don't like it. It's okay. It's all right. And it's the same thing with everybody else. There's black men that's piece of shit. There's white people that's piece of shit. There's black women that's piece of shit. If you can't deal with it, maybe you a piece of shit. I don't know.
Anxiety, what you feel you need to heal from here?
We're looking for ways to coping mechanisms, and ways to take care of ourselves because we're not on the agenda.
Well, you're not supposed to be worried about being on the agenda. The only thing you should really be concerned about is the relationship and the rapport between you and your man and your children. All right. That's the main thing, brother. See, if you had that strong culture and that understanding on how to make your own and build your own, and you had discretion, and you would not be running out there procreating with a lot of these bugged out women, you wouldn't bring children into a lot of this madness. You got to think about that, man. A lot of people have children only because they're selfish, they're lonely, and they want something to love them. They treat having a child like going to the pound and buying a puppy. Oh, I want to buy a puppy because I want something that's going to be loyal. I'm going to have a baby because the baby's going to love me. Well, you got to love yourself before you love a baby. You got to love yourself first. You got to look around you in your environment. Is this an environment that I want to raise a child in? Or am I just going to perpetuate a cycle? Right? You got cats that have been going to jail for 4 and 5 generations now. Why is that? At some point, you got to say, you know what? I'm going to alter this. I want to go to a different environment. All these issues are affecting the so-called black woman because she don't know up from down. You have to chastise her and tell her what up from down is, man. Because they don't know. No matter how much they talk, they don't know. If they don't want to listen, no problem. Have a nice day. Good luck to you. Good luck. But everything is centered on the so-called black man and his decision making, his conduct. Because the woman is not going to change her conduct. She's a child. She has to have rules and regulations stipulated to her to say, this is what you can do. This is what you can't do. That's why in other cultures they do that. They say, look, you got to wear a dress this long. You got to have your head covered. Because if not, the woman is just going to walk down the street all dizzy, diddy bopping and get into mischief.
Do you feel like you've increasingly lost the ability to see any shot at a relationship with white people?
Every time I have a conversation with them, I just pick up on certain things that they say.
Well, the real question is, can you have a real relationship with a so-called black man? That's what the real issue is. Why are you worried about having a relationship with white people for? They're not worried about having a relationship with you. Brothers, do you see how fascinated the liberal black woman, the so-called pro-black woman is with the Caucasian? To the point where you have to take a $2,000 trip to go overseas because supposedly you're trying to get away from people who are segregating themselves from you. How the fuck are you trying to escape people who have already segregated themselves from you? Somebody help me out with that one. How the hell could you be trying to run from people who don't want to be around you anyway? Like somebody who got dumped and they run around saying, I dumped the other person. No, you didn't. They don't want you.
I pick up on the microaggressions, the passive aggressiveness. I pick up on it. So I decided one day to just eliminate white people from my personal life. And
let me say this, brothers, quickly. The same thing that this female saying about white people is how she feel about you. She talking about she pick up on the microaggression and all this other stuff. She's picking up on microaggression from black men too. Meaning what? Any sign of masculinity, she's ready to go back and forth with you because she believes that she's a goddess. Right. Like a lot of these black dudes who are talking about the black woman as God, them niggas, they need to be thrown into a pit somewhere, man. When you talking about the black woman as God, all you telling me is that you have daddy issues and you probably got mommy issues too. You didn't have a dad in your life, and you most likely had a mother in your life who didn't give a shit about you. Because a real mother's not going to let you worship her as a god. As a matter of fact, what a real mother going to do is she's going to do her best to tell you about women. You know? Your mother going to tell you, oh, watch out for her, son. She ain't right. She ain't going to tell you worship her as a god. I remember many years ago when I first got my own place, my mom came by my place and she went in my bathroom. She said, son, why you have your aspirin in your bathroom cabinet? I said, why? What happened? She said, you don't leave your aspirin in the bathroom cabinet. A female might come in here and try to put something in there. You put that in your linen closet. I said, oh, okay. She didn't say, oh, well, leave everything out in the open because they're all goddesses anyway, so you could trust everybody.
Since then, my life has been way more breezy.
Do you think it's at all possible that the fact that white racism, white people have sort of made you leave the U.S., start your whole life over somewhere else, feel the need to avoid them, means that they've won?
They didn't push me out the United States.
Look at that. Even the interviewer knows that what this is really about. If you gotta run all the way to Honduras for people who you say don't even want to talk to you, that means that they own you mentally. Mentally, they own you. And once again, brothers, the vast majority of Caucasian people are the descendants of white trash. Okay? And I've touched on this a while back. I need to go more into that aspect again. The vast majority of Caucasians in America are the descendants of white trash. Okay? In the mid-1800s, the average European country was of the standard of what you would call a third world country today. That's why they all want to run out of Europe and come to America. All right? That's why they were doing that. When you talk about Italians and Polish and Irish, most of them motherfuckers didn't get here until the mid to late 1800s. For a lot of them, slavery was already over. A lot of you black people, you want to point to this white person. Oh, you white people, you white, you had us in slavery. A lot of them motherfuckers wasn't even here. Stop worrying about all these random descendants of white trash and worry about what we got to do for the future. Stop worrying about shit from back then that if you're not willing to start a race war for it, don't talk about it. Don't tell me about racism if you ain't getting your guns locked and loaded. Then I respect that. I say, okay, this nigga really about it. But if you're not ready to lock and load and run up in the police station and and go all out for yours, I don't want to hear none of your bullshit and your fake militant nonsense.
Because if that's the case, they can push me out of any of these countries because they are here. They're everywhere. I feel like white people shouldn't even have passports because they've done enough, especially white Americans. Leave them in the United States. They do not need to come here. They should be even able to travel. They need to stay in the United States.
But to a white person who's doing their best to be the best white person they can be.
I have no tips for a white person. My tip to white people.
You don't have no tips for a white person. You spent the whole segment talking about them. You just said they shouldn't be able to leave the United States. Look, brothers, I guarantee you, this is the same female, this female right here talking all that shit about white people. All that energy she got for the white man and the white woman, all that negative energies that she has directed towards them, she's going to have directed towards you. All right? I promise you that. She's going to have it directed towards you. And once again, in regards to most of these Caucasians in America, so-called Caucasians, they all descendants of white trash, man. In Europe, they were Slavs or they were serfs. They were working on our manners, right? Spelled M-A-N-O-R-S. They were working on our manners. You had nobility that used to take serfs and kill them and make leather gloves out of their skin. Make leather boots out of their skin. Okay? That's why here in America, they would do that to so-called blacks. A lot of what you call the Jim Crow laws were just an inverted version of what we were doing to them over in Europe. All the way through the 1700s. It wasn't until like the 1400s where the Caucasians started to rise up. That's another video for another day, though. But they wasn't shit in Europe until the early to mid 1800s. Okay? That's the fact of the matter. But a lot of these so-called black people, they don't know any real history. They just talk shit all damn day. And that's what I mean when I say that this society is a prison to a degree, because basically all black people can get is what they're given. Right? When they read history books, when they're being educated, when they go to get their food, everything has to be provided. So they don't really have any control over what they're ingesting, whether it be mentally or physically. So from that standpoint, yes, she's correct. But you know what? I'm going to conclude this on part 3. Peace.